and welcome to Friday! How are you? Hope you're good. I bet you are because it's Friday. So that means that it's gonna be Saturday soon, and that usually means that you don't have to work, so what's not to like? So this is day 5 of the 7 days of top 7s. And today we have some unusual reads. By unusual, I just mean that it's either gonna be the format that was unusual to me, or maybe I just went in expecting something else, or it's just like, you know, an unusual type of read. I mean, there's always something unusual about every book, well, most of the time, but these just made my list. At number 7 is the book that I do own, but I couldn't find. I actually don't know where it could possibly be, but it's Alice in Wonderland, and I feel like that's quite universal. It's very bizarre children's read. The language that it's written in, just the structure of the sentences and just the mental imagery and just concepts were actually really unusual, especially for a children's book, although I feel like children would probably not question it as much as if when you read this as a young adult or an adult or a new adult or whatever form of adult or a teenager you are. I feel like I don't have to tell you anything about this book because you will already know this, but yeah, it's quite unusual, and I think probably a majority of people will agree with me. Number 6 is a book that I've already mentioned. I tried my hardest not to repeat the books that I've already mentioned, but some of them just fit the categories too well. And so that's Illuminate, and the reason this is unusual is because, you know, the format. You'll have, it's basically written in logs and dialogue and chats and AI interface and Wikipedia equivalent pages, and sometimes there's nothing. If you're intrigued by that, I really do recommend it. I had a wonderful time, as I said. Number 5, we have Night Circus, and I absolutely understand why this is a book that people either hate or love. I am fortunately in the love pile. That is a weird thing to say. I am fortunately in the group of people who ended up loving this book. I absolutely love the atmosphere. It is a very atmospheric book. I was very happy to read this with Jade. We took like forever, and I'm glad we did, because I just felt like I'm savoring every bit and piece of this. It's about a traveling circus, but underlying thing is some sort of contest that these two people who have different opinions of magic and how it should be used to, and they're playing via proxies, and you just never understand what the point of the book is. It's very bizarre. Like, not that you don't understand what the point is, but it's very bizarre. It doesn't have a clear plot line. It doesn't have a clear purpose even. Sometimes it's mostly the atmosphere, and I think because of the cover, and there's this misconception that it is a love story. It's like, there is a love story, and it is, if you're expecting a lot of romance, you'll get some, but you're not gonna get a lot. It's just very atmospheric, a very interesting magic system that is... Nothing's clear in this book, by the way, but it's very atmospheric, and I really like the writing style, and I got attached to the characters, and I loved it. But it was unusual. When I went in this, I was not expecting it to be this. I don't know what I was expecting. Probably also like magical love story about a traveling circus and something like that. No, it's about illusions, and it's about weird magic, and it's about weird community more than anything. So I loved it, but I know it's very much like 50-50 on people who like it and who don't. At number 4, we have a book that I also read quite recently, and that is Genesis. And this is quite a philosophical concept of a utopia, and you do not necessarily know what is happening and what is the point of the book until the very end, mainly like 2 last pages, and that is why it's so interesting. It's actually quite easy to read for a philosophical read. I'm not saying that this is a philosophy book, it's not, but it's very thought-provoking, and it is set as an examination of 3 hours, and our main character is telling a story of her chosen subject to a panel of very correct examiners, and it's all set in that format, and it's quite a short book, and it's written in like a massive font, and I really enjoyed it. It was quite unusual though, and the best possible way, because I love unusual books, so really recommend that one as well. Hi, hello. So apparently I have forgotten number 3. Anyway, so I'm just gonna do it here. So number 3 is The Examined Life, How We Lose and Find Ourselves, a collection of stories who were told to a psychoanalyst, and
is retold by the psychoanalyst, and it's just a very bizarre read about people's stories, and you feel like you're invading some sort of privacy, although obviously the names and everything are changed. But it's very interesting to see the problems and the variety of problems and just the bizarreness of some of the problems in other people's lives and what drives them to whatever led them to come to the therapy. And it was a really interesting and really bizarre read, as I said, so I really recommend that as an audiobook because I listened to it and it was quite quick. I think it was maybe like 4 hours or something, and it was really interesting. So if you want to, there you go.
At number 2 we have The Sculptor. I don't know what is about this book, but it's just so interesting and weird and just a bit too real. I think I said that in every time that I mentioned this book because it is so real. Especially if you majored in art or you are considering yourself an artist, which neither of those things I did. But even then I can relate and see how this is like a struggle of who I am and who I want to be and what am I going to do with my life and recognition and stuff like that. And this is a guy who makes a deal for the powers of him being able to sculpt things into whatever he wants, but he has to die within a year or something. I can't actually remember that just now, but he makes this deal and he finds a person, and it's very bizarre. It deals with mental health issues and it deals with just existential crisis, and it's a very odd graphic novel. But I absolutely loved it. And now coming at number 1, The Curious Life of Human Cadavers. And yeah, this is probably the first non-fiction book that I've ever mentioned, and I've read this when I was like 17 or something, so now a while back. And it is what it sounds. It's a very dark, humor-filled book about what happens to your body when you die and different ways of dealing with the body after death and what happens during those various ways of post-mortem body dealing. It was so educational, and possibly I shouldn't have read that at the time that I was reading it, but it was really interesting and it's very odd, purely because of, you know, the topic, but it is made to be much lighter by the way that it's written. And if you are curious as to what happens, because, you know, unfortunately we do all die, so if you want to know a little bit more from more of a scientific view, I suppose, you can read about what happens to the body after death in this book. I'd say that easily that was the most unusual read that I had. That wraps up my unusual reads. Please leave your top 1 unusual read down in the comments, because that is the best part of my day, reading those comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!